Hello and welcome to Midday Report, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Salia Strzemska. And we start off with a breakthrough trade agreement. India and the European Union have finalized a major trade deal after nearly 20 years of negotiations. The deal will open India's huge and traditionally protected market to free trade with the EU's 27 member states. Let's bring in our correspondent Alex Kadir, who is in Brussels, for more details. Hi Alex, so Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called it a landmark agreement. Can you outline for us the main points of the deal and what exactly was agreed upon?
Yeah, good afternoon, Sally. Well, it's in Brussels being called the mother of all trade deals. It is, of course, the European market, the richest market, trading with a really up-and-coming market, which is set to be the third biggest economy by 2030. Let's break down some concrete examples about what this would look like. 97% of EU exports to India will see the tariffs they have to pay on the way into the Indian government reduced. On the flip side, that's 99.5% of exports from India to the European Union seeing tariffs go down. If you look at cars, for example, cars to the value of more than 15,000 euros being sold in India from European car makers will face a tariff of 35% to begin with. That will go down over a matter of years to 10%, down from 110%. If you're looking at alcohol, wine, spirits and others, that will go down from 150% tariff on the way into India down to 75%. This will, of course, dramatically reduce the cost of doing business for European businesses in India by about 4 billion euros a year. And that is of the businesses that are already exporting to India. Perhaps others will now do so because of these reduced tariffs. This is a very big deal for the European Union, a very big deal for India as well. Particularly, as you rightly mentioned, Sally, the Indian market very guarded by these tariffs, including on cars. Now, some caveats to this. As I said, the price for cars has to be over 15,000 euros. Electric vehicles are excluded. Much of agriculture, dairy, that is excluded from this deal. Those two markets on either side wanting to stay protected. The reason behind this, of course, officials behind the scenes telling me, is that there is less predictability in global trade. India was slapped with tariffs from the United States. Europe was threatened from tariffs by the United States on top of the ones they already have by the Trump administration. Therefore, this deal, 20 years in the making, was accelerated and now signed by those leaders in Delhi.
Alex Kadir reporting from Brussels. Much appreciated. Thank you. The free trade deal is a major win for Europe as a whole, but what does it mean for Poland? While Poland's trade with India is still limited, the agreement could open the door to significant new opportunities for growth. More in this report.
And with a stroke of the pen, the mother of all deals has been signed. The deal, 20 years in the making, will lower tariffs on 99% of goods. But these are just headlines. The real question is, how will countries like Poland benefit?
Poland's trade with India is now quite small in comparison to other European countries, but it means we have big opportunities to develop at the Indian market.
The value of Polish exports to India stands at around $1.5 billion, making the country Poland's 36th ranked export partner, according to monetary value. Polish businesses mainly sell machinery, metals and chemical products to India. Their imports from India, mainly textiles, shoes, headwear and pharmaceuticals, are higher than before and nearing the $5 billion mark. The question is where there is room for improvement.
Direct beneficiaries are companies producing, for example, cosmetics, beauty products, hygiene products, but also machinery, for example, machinery for advanced mining.
While the importance of the mining sector in Poland diminishes, India will probably keep digging stuff up. Poland can then offer its expertise in deep mining. But experts say that it's not only companies that sell directly to India who stand to benefit from the trade agreement.
If German manufacturers export more cars to India, this is a good news for producers of components in Poland.
Of course, in some sectors, the amount of goods Polish businesses can sell to India depends on the condition of the Indian consumer and their demands.
The Indian market has a lot of, let's put it honestly, poor customers.
But this picture could change rapidly.
India is growing very fast, which means growing middle and upper class. These are people that will have money, and will look for imported goods, goods that they regard as somehow exotic or luxury.
If that's the case, there's no reason for them to avoid Polish cosmetics.
The European Commission has approved Poland's national defense spending plan under the EU's SAFE programme. According to the Polish Prime Minister, the country is set to receive nearly 50 billion euros, with around 80% of that money going directly into the Polish economy for domestic investment.
From our point of view, the SAFE program was intended to allow us to use European funds on a gigantic scale, both for the Polish defense industry and Polish border. We focused on these two things. The money Poland will receive from the SAFE program is larger than the entire defense budget of Spain or Italy. And I'm only talking about the SAFE funds. I'm not talking about our own defense budget. So the scale here is truly unprecedented. We are talking about nearly 200 billion zloty in European Union funds, and we conservatively estimate that 80% of these funds will go to Polish companies, to the Polish armament group, to private and state-owned entities. So funds will be invested straight into the Polish economy.
The German Nazi concentration and extermination camp Auschwitz remains one of the most powerful reminders of the scale of Nazi crimes. Of the roughly 1.3 million people deported there, around 1.1 million were murdered, most of them Jews. January 27 marks the 81st anniversary of the camp's liberation and International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Our reporter Alex Sumlensky joins us live in Warsaw from the commemorations. Hello, Alex. So could you give us an overview as to what's happening on the ground?
Good afternoon, Sally. Well, as you can probably see and hear behind me, the commemoration ceremony, which now sees various state representatives as well as representatives of various organizations, embassies, lay their wreaths in front of the monument, which is dedicated to the heroes of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Now, as you mentioned, Auschwitz-Birkenau was one of the largest Nazi German concentration camps built on the territory of occupied Poland during World War II. This is where Polish Jews, but also Jews from other European states, were sent to in cattle cars. Those who weren't sent immediately to the gas chamber upon arrival had to endure forced labor, malnutrition, as well as disease. Now, let's listen to what a historian I spoke to today told me what that day, January 27th, 1945, known as Liberation Day, looked like.
So that day, Soviet army came to the camp and we call it liberated it. So they encountered still 7,000 prisoners who remained there after Germans already evacuated the camp with the remaining around 60,000 prisoners and marched with them in severe winter, which we call death marches. So those who remained probably were not able to walk and to go with the Germans, so they were on the verge of dying and they needed immediate help.
Now, the main point of the ceremony taking place right now behind me was an ecumenical prayer that we heard before. We also saw the speaker of the Polish Senate, Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska, give a speech. She talked about the 6 million Jews who were murdered during the Holocaust, also adding that Auschwitz is a symbol of that atrocity. Now, she also went on to say that January 27th should be seen as a day of warning and that remembrance is not enough, because what we used to read about in history books is once again rearing its head, adding that we live in a world where predictability is a luxury. She also said it is very important that we continue to listen to the testimony of survivors, and that's also what the historian told me. Let's have a listen.
When you listen to a survivor, you feel how personal are these stories. These are not anymore numbers, but these are personal stories of women, children, their families, and it's a story of a great loss and suffering. So I think it's very important not to think only about numbers, how many people were there, how many died, but also to listen to every individual, to understand the individual perspective, so we can maybe understand the importance of remembrance even more, because we can more associate with the tragedy that happened when we hear these individual personal stories.
Now, at precisely 4 p.m., the main commemoration is set to take place on the grounds of Auschwitz-Birkenau with the Polish president in attendance. Back to you, Sally.
Alex Sumlinski, thank you for this. Winter weather in Poland is not letting up, and over the past several days, black ice has made the already difficult conditions even worse, especially for pedestrians, leading to numerous injuries. While some people are trying to make the most of it, skating to work or building snowmen, many others are simply hoping for the cold spell to finally end. However, this does not appear to be happening anytime soon.
This has been a common sight in recent days, as in many places in Poland, sidewalks have frozen into ice rinks.
It's really hard. I'm still a bit unfit, so I'm walking with my heart in my mouth.
Though some people used the ice-bound roads and pavements for entertainment or used ice skates to get to work, others faced serious injuries.
I wanted to go to work. I opened the gate and fell over. My arm is broken and probably needs surgery.
I went to work to sprinkle some sand, but instead fell over onto the lawn.
And emergency rooms were teeming with people.
We're experiencing an absolute disaster in terms of the number of patients with injuries caused by slipping and falling on ice. We had to organize additional chairs and beds for all the patients coming to us.
But ice-bound roads have also caused several serious accidents, with cars losing control and sliding into one another. Train passengers faced huge delays, whereas tram transport in the northern city of Szczecin came to a standstill.
From 6 o'clock until now, I traveled here to Brama Portowa from the Słoneczne neighborhood. 2.5 hours.
Some schools in the city had to close due to the weather conditions.
It's a complex situation, so we expect there may be many more districts, municipalities and institutions with suspended classes.
Though the weather has slightly improved, Poland's meteorological office advised people in some parts of the country to exercise extra caution.
The situation will remain difficult in the north and west because although there will be no freezing precipitation there, it will rain and the temperatures will drop below zero at night.
Long-term weather forecasts predict that the spell of close to zero temperatures will soon be replaced by a return to just regular ice-cold weather, with temperatures expected to drop as low as minus 25 degrees Celsius.
China is willing to deepen its economic cooperation with Finland and strengthen mutual trust and communication. That's according to President Xi Jinping, who made remarks while welcoming Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo in Beijing.
Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo is in China, where he met with President Xi Jinping on Tuesday. Orpo is accompanied by executives of more than 20 Finnish companies representing the machinery, forestry, clean energy and food industries.
China is willing to enhance mutual trust, strengthen exchanges and deepen cooperation with Finland, thereby advancing the development of both nations and bringing greater benefits to our peoples.
Finland and China enjoy stable and long-standing relations. China has become a very important market for Finnish businesses. To truly flourish, we must together preserve the shared rules-based trade system.
Orpo is not the only European leader to visit Beijing with a sizable business delegation.
Whenever there's a European leader visiting China, that they're going with a large business delegation. So the major objective is to achieve their economic objectives in this hugely altering global order, and specifically when there is less trust in the US.
Aside from bilateral trade relations, the two leaders discussed Arctic security, a topic that has been dominating global headlines since President Trump expressed interest in acquiring Greenland.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes.
The Arctic is playing a growing role in international trade, as shrinking ice packs open up new, faster shipping routes, cutting transit times between Asia and Europe nearly in half.
Like you're going to have, quite possibly, maybe, you will have ships going across the northwest passage over Canada, maybe one day, and also you have the Northern Sea route, which comes all the way, where ships could come all the way from Asia, across the north of Russia and down into the North Atlantic.
Orpo's visit comes after weeks of Trump showing a confrontational approach to America's European allies. The Finnish Prime Minister is the latest Western leader to travel to China, following recent visits by French President Emmanuel Macron and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. British PM Keir Starmer is also due to visit China this week.
And with this we conclude Midday Report. Thank you for watching. Interview from Vilnius coming up next.